Welcome. If you're watching this video, then you have found a part of my website which will be the final evaluation of this STEM Pathways project. Over this project, I have went through the design cycle. I've identified the problem, identified criteria and constraints, brainstormed possible solutions, selected design, and then went through the prototype and design phase. In this video, I'll be talking about what I learned, what were my failures and my achievements, and what I could have done differently. With this big process, the first thing that I did was I looked and found what my problem was. I understood my problem was the deforestation and desertification in Kenya. I wanted to solve this problem. I saw that there were many issues in the way the Kenyan government was handling it, and unfortunately, many of the natural resources in Kenya were being used up in a way that was not helpful. I found that the solution to this problem, through the criteria and constraints that I laid out, was the Seedballs. Looking at the criteria and constraints, I thought that having abundant resources and enough manpower would be some criteria. However, criteria such as time making or growing and knowledge of subjects is not needed and not a concern for the chosen solution. After looking at these criteria and constraints, and after brainstorming some solutions, it was clear that making seed balls for Kenya's climate, herbivores, and soil would be the ideal solution. After I realized that seed balls were going to be the solution, I developed a plan. The plan was based off an experiment done before with the Greenhouse Club that me and some other students did. You can find the results in a link on the website, and from these results, we decided that we were going to test 3 different seed balls. One from 1 to 3, a ratio of red soil and compost, 3 to 1 compost and red soil, and a third 2 to 1 of compost, red soil, and 1 part clay. We also decided to test the biochar seed balls, which is a commercially available seed ball in Kenya, and compare those to our results. As a control, we tested a seeds only, where we scattered seeds of acacias and scattered seeds of grass alongside the seed balls. We spent several months testing and observing the experiment. And after this, we had many data points that we shared on the website, concluding that the 2-2-1 seed balls look to overall do the best, although they had a lot of variability. With this experiment, it is hard to say which one did best with which soil type and which water type because of the unnatural rainy season that we experienced during the experiment. This was a failure of the experiment. If done again, we would do it at a more reasonable time with more predictable weather that is more average to the Kenyan and Nairobi climate. In our success, we tested a lot of different seed balls and a lot of different variables. We had a monumentous amount of data, and we found that this data led to a good interpretation and a good conclusion. We believe that our experiment was well thought out, well put together, well planned, and performed well. On a personal note, through this process, I learned self-reliance. In this personal project, I spent a lot of time figuring things out for myself, spent a lot of time brainstorming and recording data and recording the process that was my own making. I learned a sense of independence, for this is my project that I spent a lot of time with, although some, what I believe, little mentorship from my mentor. And this is something that I will take to heart and will greatly learn from. Overall, you can find all this information on my website, and I encourage you reading, but this is a conclusion of the Kenyan seed balls experiment and the developing of seed balls ideal for Kenyan climate, weather, soil, and herbivores.